Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this in-depth ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, here on Thursday afternoon, a lot of attention is being given to the tropical disturbance that has moved off of the Yucatan and here right into the strait and is eventually going to be heading its way toward Florida. Now, a lot of this activity was once Hurricane Agatha, which earlier in the week came across parts of Mexico. In addition to that, as we kind of play this satellite animation forward, we can see the stronger storms that have popped up here from the lower Mississippi River Valley clear to the mid-Atlantic, where we are on the lookout today for some strong to severe storms in this particular region. But let's get caught up on the tropics real quick now. So they're calling this, I believe it's potential tropical cyclone 1. So it's the first one we've had this season, giving it a 90% chance of development. And the National Hurricane Center, just a reminder, if it does get a name, it's going to get given the name Alex. So here's the list. The slide might like to see it. The 2022 list will be repeated in 2028. So you can see the 6-year repeating list here of names. Just a great resource to have kind of to check these names out. But models have been pretty consistent with this. When it does develop into this area, and I'll just say this, the GFS is kind of bent more toward the European solution. It does appear to take the center of circulation right here over this part of Florida. A greatest risk for flooding is going to be in southern Florida, and the system's going to really stay clear of the southeast given the high wind shear values in this area and also the passage of a front. Just to show you this, by Saturday when we're watching that system move over, this is what we call an 850 to 250 wind shear product. And the higher the values, the more unfavorable the environment is. So it's a combination of jet stream level winds and also the frontal boundary that will be in this area during that time period that's going to really hinder the development of this system and prevent it from really strengthening into a more powerful tropical cyclone. In terms of wind speeds, though, just to get an idea here, this is the 12Z European run, and we're just looking at wind gusts. And you notice that the strongest wind gusts over the next 5 to 7 days do stay offshore with this system. So at this point, the threat is primarily going to be from heavy rain, not going to be from storm surge or from strong winds onshore. So we kind of just take a look at nationally what we're looking at in terms of precipitation. In the operational European model, I'm keeping my eye down here right now, does attempt to deliver anywhere between 2 to 6 inches of rainfall. There will be locally heavier amounts. This part of North and South Carolina are going to have a front that comes through on Friday, tomorrow, that's going to be kind of enhanced a little bit by the tropical system later in the weekend. So we could hit some rain right here, and this is a place that does desperately need it. But just something we're going to talk about here in a few moments. Let me just take you out 7 days on this. We've got a very active pattern of storms in through here, and we need to have a big discussion about this because this has been the area that preseason indicators suggested we'd be talking about drought by now, and I want to continue that conversation. We're staying wet in the northwest, but we will be giving a break to this area and through here in terms of precipitation. But again, I'll come back to that in just a few moments. I do want to bring up one last thing, though, about precip. This is the probability of getting at least 2 inches from the system. Here's the chance of getting at least 4. So we've got a 50 to 90% chance in through here, the farthest south you go, of getting some pretty heavy precipitation out of this system in the southern tip of Florida. Some of the operational models have put down as much as 10 inches south of that arrow right in through there. So we got to be on the lookout for that. Just some news here. On June 2nd, we did get, so today we got the new update from the CSU from Colorado State. They are right now, they have increased the number of named storms from 19 to 20, so roughly the same, but they're still above average. They've also upped their accumulated cyclone energy to be pretty far above average as well. And what they cite in this has a lot to do with La Niña conditions continuing to prevail, in fact, quite strong right now compared to normal, and above normal ocean temperatures and some of the things going on in the mid-latitudes right there in the central Atlantic Ocean. So again, this is all preseason, but the season technically started yesterday, so we're going to watch it carefully going forward because the risk is there this year. Now, I was taking a look at some other satellite imagery, and this is going to get us into our long-range discussion. I love these images. They come from worldview.earthdata.nasa.gov using the NDVI data from MODIS on Terra, which is the platform this satellite sits on. We're looking here at NDVI imagery. So the bluer the color, the cooler the color, the less, basically the less healthy the crop looks from space, and the more you go toward this part of the spectrum, the better it looks. So you might notice that right in through here, we're seeing a lot of blues. This doesn't mean an unhealthy crop, actually, at this point in the year. You're actually just seeing dirt. Remember, the crop was planted late, and we're seeing through it down to the ground. Where there are places that are where the crop doesn't look very good, of course, is back here in parts of the high plains. We still haven't planted as much as we'd like to in the northern plains, and the major drought area we've been watching very carefully, this so-called region called the Golden Triangle, which runs kind of right in through here. Pasture land is looking terrible in this area. The fact that the flow coming over the mountains has just limited the moisture return here. And there's a lot of folks in this area that are really hurting. So far, many of these locations less than 2 inches of rain since January. So it's been a pretty terrible drought in that particular area. That's not to say it's not in other places. Just I've heard from a lot of you in this area. Wanted to address it in this video. Okay, so we kind of get this national picture here, and I want to talk about some new long-range things that we just need to be discussing, because the pattern that's got us here with respect to temperatures, where we are anywhere between 100 to 150 GDUs behind normal, starting counting in April, and in some places in the Columbia Basin, almost 200 GDUs below normal, versus down here in the south, where we're sitting 100 to 150 above average. Well, the pattern that got us here, we need to question, is it going to persist longer? Because we just started June, yet we have not seen the beginning of any sort of a summer pattern. So what got us there? Well, it has a lot to do with the Pacific jet stream. And if you look through the month of May, we have still had at times very strong jet stream flow compared to normal doing that. We did block up in early May here. There was a bit of a ridge that built into the Bering Sea, but it was this factor that was more dominant. So systems have come into the northwest and ejected in the northern plains, and that's why we've kept things so very wet here, so very dry there, and hot to the south of it. Now, this pattern that's got us here, could we say that this is typical of La Niña? It is typical of La Niña to have extended jets. But this particular pattern, when you compare it historically to other La Niña years, is unique in a couple of things. The position of this trough. Normally in La Niña Mays, this trough is back farther. It's here. It's like dipping there. This one is advanced farther to the east. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the performance of the Pacific jet. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've attempted to understand where all of this momentum in the Pacific jet has come from. And yeah, I can link it to La Niña. I can link it to the MJO movements. I can link it to basically the temperature pattern, the thermodynamic pattern of the open ocean temperatures. I'll show them to you real quick here. This right in through here, this warm wedge with cooler air ahead of it, cooler air south of it compared to normal, would drive, okay, this is thermal wind stuff here, would drive a stronger jet into this area. It would do that. But I think it's more complicated than that. And when we think about this La Niña certainly, as I've said for the last month, outperformed my expectations. It was much stronger. And it remains quite strong, as does the colder water here and here. And I've just stated that cold water is typically a risk of drought in the midsection of the country. But when does that start to develop or redevelop? Because you keep that zonal jet in place, it's not going to start anytime soon. So despite the fact the Southern Oscillation Index is still at a value of 18, which is high, despite the fact that we've now seen again a resurgence in stronger trade winds coming right in through this area. Okay, that's a telltale sign of La Niña strengthening. Despite the fact that we know historically that Mays should have been drier in this area, this particular La Niña isn't adhering to this. And it's something I've just been on a kind of a slow discovery path to figuring out. In fact, normally when you look at all these other La Niña events, I got them all listed here, we're wetter in the Golden Triangle. We're drier in this area. Where have we been? We've been this. That is the May precipitation anomalies. This is atypical La Niña to be as wet as we've been in through here. Okay, that's so even though this particular La Niña is there and it's strong and there's a Pacific reflection, a North Pacific reflection with that negative PDO, we have really just seen that the strong zonal jet win out. So you say, all right, well, what about those La Niña years going into the new month, June? Let's combine it with July. This is why we've been so concerned about drought in the midsection of the country. Because historically, you put all these years together and look at a composite precipitation map, on average, they all add up to being drier than normal in the midsection of the country. So this is the when I keep saying there is risk, this is why I'm saying there's risk. History, it's just looking historically. And what's interesting about that is the new model run. This just came out about an hour ago, and I've been staring at it ever since. We do rely pretty heavily on models. They are much, much better than, of course, they were in the past. And the latest European model is doing just like we talked about on Monday. Placing a ridge here. Flow comes around it over the top. We have storms that build into kind of this triangle I'm drawing there. But then we would see drier conditions here on an expanded rain shadow under that ridge with high pressure. Notice how with the heat, we bring in us early monsoon. And what is the time frame we're looking at? June 15 to July 15. That's what we're looking at here. So to see consistently, do you remember the forecast on Monday? We saw the same thing, the model showing this dry. It's the ECMWF has not let go of it. Now, the CFSV2 has been all over the place. The new outlook from the CPC, they're not calling for this to go over dry until you get past much of the next 3 weeks in June. And I definitely agree with that. We know the risk is there, right? I mean, the U.S. Drought Monitor, the new one just released today, clearly shows where we are still dealing with longer-term drought. So it's poised, and if it starts to expand, we want to know when it's going to expand. What I'm going to tell you is, until this Pacific extended jet either shifts poleward or it retracts, which means it's got to go these directions on the diagram, we will continue just to see the jet stream doing this. And what happened last year, it came to about there and then split into a big ridge with a subtropical branch that all came together really in the eastern Corn Belt. We're not seeing that this year. It's just going across. So this is the statement I'd like to make. All the way out to the next 7 days, June 9th. Let's go on out to the next 10 days. Go all the way out to the next 15 days. The models continue to show from Egypt almost all the way to Ireland, just one long extended branch of the jet stream. No splits, no major troughs and ridges. I know we're pretty far out in the forecast and we're blending it all together, but there's just no indication that this thing's going to fall apart. That means if we're going to see drought expanding, it may not be until we get to the end of June or July. And when I say May, I've got to get rid of this and bring in a whole new summer pattern, meaning sending the jet stream north and having it start to change in its position of the Gulf of Alaska. If you're in the Midwest, it starts to dip here, we get a ridge and it's hot. If we get the same thing splitting into a split pattern here, what ends up occurring is you end up getting the ridge setting up over the west, and it's wet in the Midwest. See, these are the factors that still are at play, and we're trying to observe. But I'm right now got this feeling that this must break down first before anything starts to shift across North America. That's what I'm waiting on. So even though the model keeps saying this, I'm going to put a big question mark in here and say this will occur when that jet stream breaks down. But at this point, not through the third week of June do we really start to see that occurring. So you put all that together, and this is what you get over the next 10 days. So the jet keeps pushing more moisture in the northwest. You then see the influence of lingering frontal boundaries sitting in through here, giving us lots of chances of showers and storms. And it presses through some of the drier areas of Nebraska, Kansas, where it's been very wet down here, more precipitation on the way. Where we've had some drier pockets show up in parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, more moisture, same thing over in the southeast to the mid-Atlantic. A little bit of drier weather in through here. There's only pockets in here right now that are dry. And folks up here could welcome the drier conditions so that we can finish planting what's going to get planted and start to get a season really going. Problem is that with this same pattern, we're going to see colder weather in this area as well, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds. Let's catch up on a couple other things, though. Soil moisture. This is the latest soil moisture map, down to 40 centimeters. That's 16 inches. So this area right through here, over the next 10 days, looking wetter. Where it's been drier in places here in the eastern Corn Belt, we go back and say, well, we start to see some more moisture coming into that area. Look over here. We got moisture coming in here Friday, and the longer range models still suggest maybe better chances at some more rainfall in that area. So I look at all of that, and we're just trying to stitch it together and make a story out of it. And I just think if and when the pattern breaks, it's at least a couple of weeks away from us, maybe even more than that. So you now know what I'm watching. Today, which is this map, I've been keeping an eye over here in the mid-Atlantic because of the risk of severe storms. And we've been watching storms pop all day from the lower Mississippi River Valley here into parts of Virginia, Maryland, and over toward Delaware and New Jersey. So this is the area we're keeping an eye on. Storm Prediction Center has been watching it for a few days now, and they got that pretty well identified. As we get into tomorrow on Friday, the risk area is going to move back here to New Mexico and Texas. And then as you get into Saturday, we're just going to watch this corridor kind of open up. And here's the reason why. Look at the wind field. So this is the wind field tomorrow. And we got this low here. So there's the cooler air coming in around the backside of it. You then see the flow coming in like this into the northwest. And the boundaries are just going to sit in between. And that's why we're going to watch this corridor kind of open up and stay wet. So we go to the high-res NAM model first. This starts at 6 p.m., so there's the storms rolling through the mid-Atlantic. Scattered convection all the way back to the lower Mississippi River Valley. We got the flow coming around the low that's up here in parts of Ontario. And then you'll see coming into the northwest, the next system. So playing into tomorrow morning on Friday, getting to Friday midday. Let's go into Friday afternoon and evening. You see the storms popping here. That's where we're going to be watching for them tomorrow, but scattered convection in the southeast. Then we see on Friday night the bulk of the rain moving across through Saturday morning into Florida. But notice again, see the region of scattered storms? And with this next big frontal boundary coming into the Pacific Northwest, that's going to again give us our next push to put more into this area in terms of lift in the atmosphere. So I'll take you out to 7 p.m. on Saturday. We're going to just continue to see better chances for showers and storms in this area. Just to let you know, we always check in on this. And again, my good friend Ryan Maui posts this for us. Great, just a great resource, Ryan. The GFS lost it at the end of May, and the European's been the consistent performer as of late. So when I go to these graphics, just remember the GFS is on the left and the European's on the right. Just take a look at the forecast. We've already played through Friday, which is here, getting into Saturday morning, afternoon, and evening. Let's pick it up here with the models. Now, as I go through the rest of the weekend, watch this corridor and what's coming into the northwest. Okay, so this is Saturday evening going into Sunday morning, afternoon, and evening. See the storms here as the tropical system stays offshore. We then go from Sunday evening into Monday morning, Monday afternoon, and evening. The GFS is quicker, but there's still a corridor of storms in through here, wrapping up into this old low. And then Monday overnight into Tuesday morning, afternoon, and evening, getting again into Wednesday afternoon and evening. And you just keep seeing that corridor stay open for a lot of activity. You just put all that together, and the next 7 days looks something like this. And even if you're down here in the south, the Gulf of Mexico's open. There's plenty of moisture that's coming in here. You're going to get daily scattered convection. It's going to be one of those forecasts where every day what you hear is there's a 30 to 50% chance of storms. To the north, we do get drier. The jet stream is coming in a different trajectory, and that area is going to get missed, and a lot of folks there are going to like that. Because look at this. By the time we get out there to the end of the week, next Friday, playing through next weekend, the 11th, 12th, getting out there to the 13th, still have the extended jet, ridging here over the south, which means we're going to get hot, the southwest. But this big trough, you're going to have around the base of that a lingering frontal boundary. And that's why week 2 precipitation patterns favor wetter here. So it's all kind of playing out, I would say, as expected given that pattern. But that pattern, that jet stream pattern is what we're watching to see breakdown. From here, let's talk temperatures as we wrap this one up. Our first map here shows you from May 1st through June 1st temperature anomalies. We still have places in the northwest that are having record cold for spring. What are we seeing over the next 10 days? Well, let's go take a look at our temperatures first. This was today's high temperatures on Thursday, but Friday, getting into Saturday and Sunday, that's where the boundary is going to sit. See the colder air to the north. Hundreds in central Texas on Sunday. Going into Monday and Tuesday, right there, that's the boundary on which the storms are going to sit. And then as you go into early next week and beyond, what we just continue to see is the ridging takes over in the west a little bit, temporarily. See it? We're going to talk about triple digits here in the Central Valley of California after about the 10th or 11th of this month. But with the downstream trough, we're not going to be picking up a lot of heat anytime soon in this area. It's going to be past mid-June before this breaks over. Because if you notice, I'll play all the way out there to June 17th. That'll be exiting at that time. Now, the big question I have comes back to the question I posed earlier. This is week 3, June 16th through the 23rd. To finish June and start July, the model still brings in that ridge that runs right through here. Hence, the first 2 weeks of July attempt in the models to go over hot. Now, what my statement is going to be here is I need to see the Pacific Jet calm, split, change its position north, south, something different before we start to buy into this forecast evolving in early July. If it does, and we see this in terms of temperatures, and then we see the precipitation pattern going over Drier, then we'll have to talk about this risk. But we've just kicked the can down the road another 2 to 3 weeks before we really start to see this area showing significant risk for drought redevelopment. And I'll watch it this weekend. On Sunday, I get brand new long-range European model forecasts. I'll go out 7 months. I'll include that in all my early week communications. If you sign up for my daily report, or if you get my videos here on Monday nights and Thursday nights, it'll be in there. We'll have a discussion about it. But I appreciate your attention. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Thanks.